Yeah, I was busy and forgot about Tumblr and don't want to bother going looking for something. By the way, we're live.
Oh,
Hooray!
Yeah. So this is
Hey.
pre-show. We always had
Yeah.
no one can see us right now. They can only hear us until we get to this.
oh, good.
This is
Nobody
the
got to
pre-show.
see that wonderful.
Depending on what we say here, might end up on the end of the audio podcast, but you know, this is happening.
They get to hear us talking about Raymond's butt yet?
No, I didn't start.
Well,
this
they
year.
can now.
We want to continue talking about Raymond's butt. I mean, if you think about it, one of the defining features whenever somebody thinks of Raymond Smith is his butt.
Well,
No, see, one of the other ones is Dorothy because he does, I think NAB, he was running around in little blue and white gingham shorts around the pool with ruby red slippers and a basket.
that is correct.
So I always imagine Dorothy.
I'm always thinking. I was thinking more to like physical feature.
Oh, physical features. He's got a really nice beard and always smells nice. He always puts Obanoffs in it, which I love.
I don't know. It's like every time I see something about him, there's some major emphasis about his butt.
It's a good butt.
It's a very good butt. I love that butt. I wish I could touch that butt. I wish I could do more things with that butt. But we're not going to
Face
talk
plant
about that.
into that.
I've
butt.
touched the butt. Here, Raymond, some shameless plugins for you for your traveling.
Plugins?
He is currently serving as Mr. or not Mr. He's GLA Bluegrass, Boot Black,
Yep.
both. So he gets
Mr. NAB 27 or 16?
yeah, he's NAB 2017, 16.
16.
16. He's Bluegrass Boot Black, GLA Boot Black, on his way to International Boot Black, hopefully. So he needs all the plugins.
He will definitely enjoy plugins. I will tell you that. He definitely likes
Really?
plugins.
He's my sweetie. I will always plug him in. He's been good to me.
Making other innuendos too.
I do happen to have a picture of him at Drenched Fur in his gingham Speedos and red heels.
Yes. Oh, God. Them legs and booty.
Okay, I'll go ahead and switch your Tumblr link to this one.
Okay.
And Superfan Drew is in the chat.
Hey.
He's here like all the time that I'm just going to make him a mod.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Suddenly, he's moving up in the world.
Well, you know. He
all
comes
have
to
to have
all my
a party.
birthday parties, so what do you expect?
I was going to say, that's what you get for sleeping with the host, but he hasn't slept with any of us, to my knowledge. He's just a bestie.
So, Courtney, I've titled it Friend of Dorothy, and like I said, it's the photo of him at Drenched Fur. He's wearing gingham Speedos
Yes.
and little red heels or pumps. Sorry, I don't know shoe types.
Oh, you know what gets me is those red heels.
Yeah, they're not the glitter ones, though. They're the shorter.
Maybe he only did that. I can't remember. He's done that outfit a couple times that I've seen. Like, I know he had, like, at one point, Timberlands that he had, like, jewel encrusted.
Timberwomans. I love it.
Oh, God. I wanted those in auction, but I'm a broke bitch. I'm paying that much for shoes.
Shoes. What was that song? Shoes.
By Kelly.
I want some shoes. Oh my God.
Something
Shoes.
about that top.
All I remember was the how you
Oh,
pronounce it.
I'm sorry. Is it the Klondykes of Ohio Valley?
That is the group that I'm trying to form out of this. The competition itself is called Not Your Average Bear.
Not Your Average Bear.
Yeah. Oh.
So would it be the producer of the Klondykes and the Not Your Average Bear contest?
Producer of the Not Your Average Bear contest, creator of Klondykes.
Okay.
You can just use Klondykes for short. I do. I really should not have made it that long when I did. Da-da-da.
All right.
Okay.
I love Raymond. I also love pups. Pups are awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, there were lots of us last night.
There were. It was so cute. A lot of our leather group kind of picks on me because it's like anywhere I go, suddenly I'm just followed by pups. It's because I give all the scritches. I might be a bit biased though. My pup's kind of the best.
True. I like to watch.
You like to watch?
Yes, that's what he just said.
He's a voyeur pervert that way.
Yeah, you need some, I think it's white velvet.
Alright, back to here. Whoa, not all caps.
Okay, so Courtney, in the beginning of the show, we're each going to discuss things that are going on with the recent events of our life. So if there's anything major that has happened to you in the past week, or something that you're currently working on for the near future, you can just talk about that if you want. Like for me, I'm going to talk about going down to Louisville last night, and a couple of other things. Gary's been on the road, so he's going to be talking about that. So when it gets to your turn, just kind of, it's going to be improv, and just tell us about what you've been doing.
Okay.
Oh, that is so not right.
The goal that it should be
Oh my god.
anywhere between about 4 to 15 minutes, but it ends up usually taking about an hour.
Sprinkle Bear.
His name's Sprinkle Bear.
Hi, Sprinkle.
Yeah, Sprinkles is on. Jack just joined.
Courtney, if you go through my Facebook page, you will see a photo of Mr. Jack, aka Sprinkle Bear. Actually, I don't know if you are in the right group, so I will go through and approve you to see those types of images.
Ooh.
So, quick question.
Yes.
No, this is in general at least. Midwest Drummer Boy 2017.
Brady Tibbers.
No, that I think he was 2016. This year.
No, he's 2017 this year.
Yeah, he's this year.
For Ohio Valley
Yes.
River, OVR.
No,
OVR drummer.
Midwest Drummer Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Bayard Maddie.
Bear Maddie. You know Bear Maddie?
I don't think I do.
You got two.
I do know him.
Well, I was trying, but yours is fucked up. It's upside down. And I can't get it to work. So.
Oh, he said, "Girl, you met me." Apparently, you do know who Jack is. Jack is the one who put me in contact with you.
Jack Lundy?
No. He's from Kentucky Bourbon Bears. He's like...
Oh, okay. Yes. I know who we're talking about.
Like
yes.
6'2", shaved head.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So, huge hugs.
So none of you know
pleasant
who I'm
demeanor, very,
about.
very nice person.
Calls you sugar tits.
Sugar tits. Probably did show my tits. I can't deny that. I probably did.
Well, he calls me sugar tits.
Oh, well.
So
my first leather event that I ever went to, I had just turned 20, I think, and was in the middle of what used to be barracks here in town. And both of my dads were there, and someone wanted to do wax play on me, and they're like, hey, you want it on your front and back? I'm like, dealer's choice. They're like, well, on your tits, of course. Middle of the bar, just threw down my corset and put my hands on my boobs and was getting a wax bra. And everybody, like, that was my first ever leather event. So,
jeez.
Yeah, I fit right in.
So, just to clarify, no one knows who this guy is. Bayard Maddie.
I said twice now, I know who Bayard Maddie is. I do not know anything about him winning a title.
Oh, no, I don't know Bayard Maddie. That's why I was asking you.
Yeah, he was Midwest Drummer Boy 2017.
Okay.
So
what about him?
Oh, well, I was just wondering if anybody knew, like, if that was his specific pup name or if he had a different pup name.
I don't know. Why? What is the context?
Obviously, take it to private chat. Like, there's something awkward about this conversation already. It's making me uncomfortable, so.
Okay. I don't know.
Like when you rub something.
Anyways. So I'm just going to say Bayard. Anyways, let's do this. We're all good?
I'm good. Let's go.
Gary?
Yes, we're fine. Mama Bear said to start, so don't fight it.
All right. Here we go. November 12th, 2017. I'm Jeff.
Who's your bear? That's right. I am your bear.
I am Chester.
This room is a pigsty, and you're a dirty pig boy.
You're a dirty boy.
Yeah, and that makes me Gary.
Don't hurt nobody with your bad self.
And welcome to Comes Out Loud, the Bear Podcast of Indeterminate Length, episode number 440. And we have a guest with us. We have Courtney Chesser, the creator of the Klondykes and the producer of the Not Your Average Bear contest. Courtney, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And we might as well get right into our first part. Okay, so I was up till like 2 a.m. playing Stardew Valley, all because my raid leader, Jocelyn Moffat, for her show The Gamers Inn, they were doing their Extra Life charity stream on Twitch for 24 hours. And so I was watching them, and then if you donate, you get a prize of a free game, like a Steam code. And they have the entire list of games, and I got one of those. But on that list, they had Stardew Valley. And it's like, wait a minute, I already have that. So I can't get that. Figured out a different one, which is another matter altogether. But then I'm like, I should play Stardew Valley. So while on my TV, I had their Extra Life stream up, I was playing Stardew Valley obsessively. Like, it's like after midnight, and I'm like, still going, and I'm like, I could probably go to bed right now. No, one more day. And And so I was just continuing to play and play, and I'm like, okay, it's 2:00 in the morning. I should go to bed. So I did that. Also, earlier this week, someone, a pub joined my pack, kind of, sort of, in that we now have something in common. We both have one nut. So, Bayard, Midwest drummer boy, 2017. He just had surgery. It was because of testicular cancer. He had to have one of them removed. Well, you joined me in having that. So I wanted to send out my loves and cuddles and scritches, because he was in pain after that. And trust me, after that, you're still in pain for a while. And just about an hour ago, he just posted, this just in, your new pup name should be Uno from Cuba. So he may become Pup Uno. I had a lot of those jokes when I was in ninth grade. In ninth grade, this happened to me. And it's one of those things where you just kind of can't, like, I had surgery. What for? Well, I'm missing something now.
Yeah, kind of got.
And the jokes come out.
Now I get it.
Love it.
A little slow on the uptake today.
Yeah, but so I've been kind of like obsessively watching it. Like, you got this. It's fine. It's going to be fine. Because I know. I know the feeling. Although I hear you got a prosthetic. I didn't. So I hang to the left all the time. Anyways.
Well.
Chester?
I decided to go apply at a bathhouse as an attendant.
Oh, that's appropriate.
Oh, okay.
Which was fine. I had absolutely no problem going in there to do it. While I was in there, I got to sit in the lounge, and I'm waiting for the manager to come give me the interview, and there's guys walking around the bathhouse, because that's what guys do. And I'm just like sitting there like, weirdest interview ever. Just dicks flopping about. And it reminded me of the scene in History of the World where I forgot her name, but she's going through and saying which soldiers she wants to keep for herself. And then when they all turn around and they start marching away, and she's going like this, watching their dicks, and she goes, I love quick time march. So that was fun. The interview went really well. We ended up, within like 5 minutes, it turned very conversational. And we talked a lot about LGBT culture and giving back to the community and the importance of spaces like bathhouses. So it was all good fun. Yesterday, I went to Louisville for Cameron's. It was an event he was holding called Fuck Body Shaming. And he did it in conjunction with Pup Tibbers. And the two of them invited people from the community to come up on stage, show their body, have a good time. They did some fundraising. Our lovely guest was there, which we ended up meeting about halfway through the evening due to somebody else who is a Cubs Out Loud listener. And he came over and introduced Courtney to me. And yeah, I had a really fun time doing that. Shortly after, I didn't mention, but I went down there with Dane. We were photographing the event. When the event got finished, Dane and I went back to our hotel room while Brady and Cameron were still at the event, and we're like, we're bored. Let's just dick around and take some photos. So we ended up setting up a whole bunch of studio gear in our hotel room that had a jacuzzi suite in the corner, and we were just taking all sorts of photos of us just doing weird shit.
Shameless.
And it was so much fun, and we had such a great time doing it.
So
yeah.
pay attention to your Tumblr for the future.
Tumblr, yes. Facebook and Instagram will have censored type of imagery.
Previews?
Yes. Safe for work images that will link to the not safe for work images. Because there are a few that we really enjoy that we were taking them from an artistic standpoint. It's not just... While there are plenty of dozers saying, "Here, look at my dick," there are ones that are supposed to be, it's supposed to be art. Because we're emulating. Sort of okay. We were emulating a certain scene from a movie that it's an idea that we have been trying to do for quite some time. And this is the first time we've actually been able to sit down and do a run through of it. So once we got done, we were like, oh yeah, it turned out good, but these are the things we need to change to make it better for next time we do it.
So I also do want to say, the actress you were thinking of, Chester, was Madeline Kahn, from the Mel Brooks movie.
Okay, yeah.
Where she likes watching all the penises bounce.
Yes.
But also, hi, Miss Tammy. She says she was at the body shaming event and that she saw Chester and gave him a big hug. So.
Yep. I did see her earlier in the evening, but the music was playing and I wanted to go over and say hi. So there was one point where there was a break in the evening and I seen her get up and go outside. So I rushed out there to go say hi to her where I could actually talk and hear what she had to say. So, yeah.
So, yeah. No, it's pretty awesome.
The older cubs prefer the quieter environments where we can actually talk to people.
That's exactly it. So that brings us to Gary.
So I kind of had a 48-hour quickie. That's not what everybody thinks. Probably 49 to 50 hours ago, left here in Erie. I went down to Columbus. I met up with Chester and Evan and Joe and Dane and some other folks. Met a bunch of folks down there at Club Diversity. Trident was having a little function, and it was a military theme because, of course, Veterans Day. So for Veterans Day, if people wanted to dress up in that. So it was interesting to go out to a place. I really, honestly, Chester, I really like Club Diversity.
Yeah, I really enjoy that place too. It's very unassuming.
It's cool because it's an older Victorian home, like turn of the previous century, that's been converted. So it's really like a community center as opposed to a bar. So you walk up, like you have to walk down a sidewalk to get up a couple steps onto the front porch to get into the building. There's the front seating parlor room to the right is just kind of a social space. To the left side is where the band musicians were playing. It was a karaoke thing, but then there's a bar towards the back. There's a little kitchen area. You go upstairs, there's more seating. They have like a public performance space type deal. There's patios out back. There's like canopies. I mean, it's pretty cool all the way around. I really like it a lot. So if anybody's in the Columbus region, I suggest you go check it out. And if there's other functions and I happen to be traveling through or going to be in the area, I would love to go back and hang out at the space. I love what they're doing with it. It's kind of a mashup of old and new and the concept of like bringing the community together, but it's not a traditional bar space. It's not dark and black. It's not, hidden at the corner of two alleys or any of that kind of stuff. It's fun. So I went down there for that, stayed at Chester and Evans in classic fashion. This cracks me up, and I have to kind of spill a little bit of tea. So Chester says, we get back, it's about midnight. Evan has to be able to work in the morning. Chester's like, okay, I'm setting my alarm. So he gets his phone or his watch out, and he sets an alarm for 2 a.m. to stop talking so we can all go to bed. So the alarm goes off. Yeah. Everybody knows how this goes. 2 a.m., the alarm goes off, and then 2 hours later, we're still talking. It's 4 a.m. So, yeah, I'm not sure your idea worked very well, Chester, but
no, it wasn't quite that. While I knew very well that my alarm's going to go off, and I'm going to continue to talk, but I at least made a point to say to myself in my head, I'm going to talk about very specific things that I want to talk to you about. And when those are resolved, then I will be done. And then it got about 3:30ish, and that's when I realized, oh, we're done talking about this stuff. It's time to start going to bed. And yeah, like 20 minutes later, we were done.
So, in classic fashion, I was up late talking someone's ear off in the middle of the night. But yeah, no, it was pretty cool. And then got up in the morning. Chester and I had another extended conversation, finally said goodbye, left and drove up to Cleveland, met up with Drew, my bestie, and we had like a mini version of what is normally our fabulous food show weekend in Cleveland. The IX Center that has been managing and hosting the past couple of years decided to take a year off, quote unquote. So they're going to reorganize and bring it back. So instead of Thursday to Sunday, it was just Saturday afternoon to today. We ran around Parma, Ohio, which is just south of Cleveland. I highly suggest you check it out. It has great little shops. We had late lunch at a diner. We had these fucking amazing Polish dumplings. I think they're called sizzy. It's a like little ground meat ball inside of a mashed potato kind of like covering, and they're boiled for 10 minutes and then pan fried with like bacon and caramelized onions. Oh my god, it's so good. But they were so light and fluffy, and anyways, it was insane. And we got chicken paprikash, and so anyways, we ran around and we went to a deli store and picked up some stuff there that was all like Polish, and then we went to the bakery, which had crazy baked goods, which I think was Italian based. And then we ran over to Ukrainian village section, and we went to a deli where they feed you food when you walk through the door, because we're fat boys that like to eat, so that works. And bought some food stuff there, and then finally went and met up with friends of ours, Dan and Brandon, where we were staying the night at their place. So yeah, and then we went out to dinner at Mabel's Barbecue, which is a Michael Simon's restaurant in Cleveland, downtown, that opened in the past year. Had some really great food. And then Drew and I went out to Leather Stallion because Mr. Friendly was doing a One Hit Wonders trivia night. Unfortunately, by the time we got parked downtown and then waited for our table and sat and ate, we missed the beginning of trivia. So we didn't get to join in the trivia because it was already underway and wrapping up. But we got to hang out and chit-chat and stuff. And then I should have known better. Drew and I went inside and we sat at the bar, and then we brainstormed ideas for Drunch Fur. So there was that. Then we went back to the house and crashed, and then got up this morning and ate some pastries that we bought yesterday, which are very nummy. And then we ran to West Side Market, did some grocery shopping, and then went to Lucky's Cafe for our annual brunch on Sunday. We got to meet Chuck Heather. God, I just love that woman so much. She's so down to earth and very easy to get along with, and had some good food this morning and stuff. So yeah, it was a jam-packed like 48 hours, wham bam, and all that jazz. So yeah, and now I'm home and we're having a fabulous show with our guest. So Ms. Courtney, in this section we're just kind of talking about what's going on with us most recently. So what's going on in your world?
Well, my partner Jade Veers actually just had nasal surgery done.
Oh my!
She had a double deviated septum and some lovely nasal polyps. And because of that, she has never been able to smell. I can't remember what the actual word for it is. I think it's anosmia. And so because of her surgery, she's actually beginning to smell things for the first time. So we kind of make trips to like Yankee Candle and like, ooh, smell this or this. So she's kind of going through her healing process, kind of learning what smelling is like. So that's a big adventure in my life right now. We've got Tri-State Leather that we're going to next weekend. So if anybody's going to be there, you'll see me running around probably, hey, Mr. Chester. I'll be there Saturday night after work, and we're probably going to go hang out with the other two members of our leather family, and then come back hopefully Sunday morning. Otherwise, right now is kind of a cool down period. We've been very busy leading up to the Not Your Average Bear competition, and then January we start really hitting on fundraising and stuff for our glitter bear, because he's competing at North American bear. So kind of taking this month off and enjoying the calm before the storm. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. Just nothing.
All right.
That means we're going into...
we do have a question really quick. Barbara Thomas had asked, will she be able to smell?
She has. That's what I was kind of getting into, is that she's never been able to smell before. About 2 weeks after her surgery, we like to do grooming as a form of service because we are in the leather community. And so she had just given me a bath with like an oatmeal honey sugar scrub. And we're laying in bed. She's, her mouth's not on me, but she's like, I don't know how to describe it, but you kind of taste like tea because she puts honey in her tea. And I'm like, well, I think you're learning to smell, honey. And so I was the first thing she was able to smell. And then and she cried. She cried a lot.
Aww.
So I told her to go get, she had been eating dark cherry Jello, which is so pungent. You can definitely smell the cherry. And I was like, well, can you taste it without tasting it? If that makes sense. Because that's kind of how she was learning everything. It's, well, I taste it without tasting it. And so dark cherry Jello was the second thing. And then she's really gotten into warm scents like vanilla and honey, which is always kind of a big thing for me. So, yeah, those were the first two things she smelled.
Yay!
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. Yeah, Barbara was saying, after the surgery, it'll be so cool. An idea is that she films it so that the journey can be understood by other people. One of the things I think, Chester, you and I know, because we're into food, we'll put it that way. I don't want to necessarily call us foodies.
I'm a foodie.
If you want to be an obnoxious prick about food, you go right ahead. So,
I am not obnoxious about it.
Well, that's the way to find a foodie.
Look, I'm not obnoxious about it. I just like food. Food. Girl can eat.
She sounds like, now see, you sound like you're channeling Ray right there. like right out of you.
Me?
Yes.
We come from the same neighborhood. Food is good. That is how you get to meet people. Like, that is my favorite thing. When I meet someone, if I like you, I cook for you. So, like, I've made a homemade teriyaki sauce and put it over salmon and baked it with a mango, strawberry, pineapple chutney. I do like a BLT mac and cheese. Like, I love food, so that's right up my alley.
BLT mac and cheese. That sounds good.
Yeah, so no, but I think that's cool. Like what Barbara's talking about, which is pretty awesome, is to say like a lot of the way we taste comes through smell. Like those senses are directly tied to each other and how like the brain interprets things. So I think what's cool about it is it's kind of like people who are colorblind, and then if they are able to get the new glasses that have come out about technology that helps them actually see colors for the first time, and then everybody watches the video and everybody cries because they're just like they're overwhelmed by watching somebody else be overwhelmed by like new sensations or stuff. So that's awesome that your partner's like getting basically a whole new thing. Although the first thing I thought of it, I cringed, was like, oh, but not everything smells great.
Yeah, she's like that too. So two funny stories out of that. The first one being, she went to the gas station because her thing is like any chance she gets to smell new things now, she like jumps on the chance. And so she went to the gas station and she told me later, she goes, gas smells good, but I can really see how someone could get high off of that. No, baby, that's huffing. You don't do that. You don't sniff gas. That kills brain cells. And then the other one is she was using, or I think I was using the restroom. And she's like, I'm starting to learn that poop doesn't smell good. No, that's why people say it smells like shit. Because it's gross.
Nice.
Yeah,
well,
so...
Barbara wishes her a happy and healthy outcome. Thinks that the journey is pretty cool. And of course, Drew says, pick me. I volunteer as tribute, mama. So apparently Drew wants to be besties now with you because you're going to feed him, or at least that's what he's thinking is going to happen. So
I would totally feed you. I'm on Facebook. That's fun.
I'm right there along with you. So, way to a bear's heart through his stomach.
Yeah, a bunch of hungry bears. I'd say you're thirsty, but that means something else these days, according to the kid.
According to the kids.
Oh, but Dad's told me about going to get food at fair events. Trucks all loaded up in the back. We eat.
Nice.
Right. So now for this.
Yep.
Now, whoever thought we'd be doing commercials?
I know I sure as heck didn't.
Being that we're a smaller scale podcast, we don't have advertisers knocking down our door to give us money, and that's okay.
Which is why we want to take a moment and tell you about 2 really great ways you can support Cubs Out Loud.
Over the past 9 years, COL has produced hundreds of audio episodes, and now we have matching video episodes for you to enjoy.
This year, we introduced the new COL logo and launched our new merch store over at Zazzle.com/CubsOutLoud.
Or you can also use the COL merchandise link on our podcast website to pull up the online store.
Here you can take a look through a range of products, including t-shirts, hats, poker chips, underwear, backpacks, and various other things with the COL logo on them.
And keep an eye out for new things to be added based on your interests and requests.
We typically can be found showing these great items off in the video stream of our shows.
Also, to help with our new format, we're doing YouTube video shows that help create the audio version. We have a GoFundMe campaign underway at gofundme.com/COLstream.
This campaign allows us to afford upgrading the PC that Jeff uses to produce our shows. Plus, a better computer means better quality streams.
And thanks in advance for not only listening to Cubs Out Loud, but helping support the podcasts too.
You know, I'm not sure if like options available for some of our stuff are like women's specifically.
Yes. The shirts do, the t-shirts and that, you can get them in unisex men's and women's cuts.
Okay, so it's unisex, so.
Yeah, so if Courtney or Barbara or Miss Tammy or any other lovely ladies out there that are probably, I don't know how to say it, womanly shaped.
Lovely ladies of COL.
Yeah.
Voluptuous.
Yeah, if
they could be like our glow women.
Nice. Yeah, if they want to get some apparel, that's
I'd do it.
I feel funny about the women's line of like shirts and stuff, only because like it's so funny to me because I'm like, well, it's a t-shirt. I never realized for a long time like, oh, actually women's t-shirts are made different as far as a cut, but even then I'm like, yeah, but they're kind of cut for a reason, which is to like fit a woman's body and show off a woman's body. So I'm not really sure how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. Yeah. When you click on style, there's a drop down of 4 and you can select all, men, women, women's plus, maternity, girls, boys, toddlers, and baby.
Wait, so are we saying that we could have maternity wear that has our logo on it?
Yeah. Ooh, I do need turkey pants next weekend.
All right. Turkey pants could look like gravy. Ah, gravy. That was not
There's a lot of women.
Yes, gravy.
There's a lot of women that wear maternity pants without being pregnant. They are super comfy.
You guys got the big, giant, stretchy thing right in the front.
Yeah, it's like stretch pants all the time. It's great.
Wonderful. So, anyways, for the stuff that we have from our COL store, I'm back in my chocolate brown hoodie because I just want to be comfy.
And plus, you guys are up there in the cold. Right now, I'm here sitting in like 70, 60 degree weather and t-shirts, and well, you can't see below my waist.
Do you really need to, though?
Leave it to
some people might want to.
I mean, if you want to look at somebody's eyes while they're down there, maybe. I don't know.
Nice.
In any case, I think it's time for this. So, Gary, what have I been doing over in Facebook land?
That's a great way to reference it.
First, a like. And then
Yeah,
what's up, baby?
Yeah, let's get our one Facebook like-in. We would like to thank William Colombo for liking us on Facebook. Yay.
Hi, Mr. Colombo.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Certain
one
thirsty
more
hosts
thing.
will appreciate him. So,
Oh, I've already appreciated him.
well, Courtney, welcome to the show. In case you
Hey,
haven't ever
how's it
one
going?
before. Also, so we had some posts that were not about shows. Believe it or not, we actually every once in a blue moon put out content or like things that are happening. So, interestingly, Carlos from Chicago posted and said Jeff really enjoys this art, and then it goes on. It says,
I shared his post.
Okay, but he wrote he did it originally because of you, correct?
No, he did it. I liked it, so I shared it to the Cubs Out Loud page.
Oh, see, I don't even know the whole timeline history. I was under the impression that
shared
Carlos
his
posted.
post.
So, anyways, he says, I say this to people who talk about how they don't know what a Breitbart is. You live a blessed life. And then he's explaining about, I think it's like two characters, like AQ and DK. And quoting them in his. Oh, all right. Well, see, and that's the part that I missed. I was too busy focusing on the fact that there was cartoon artwork and like there was a.
Really, what's the point about the cartoon artwork?
Because there's a Santa Daddy looking character. That's the whole thing for me. I was like, I didn't have to read anything because I know very well that Jeff has a thing for Santa fetish.
So let me explain. This was so he was quoting a part of the interview that he was linking to, which had this artwork, and these people like to tell their children that Santa is black, and every time they see a white Santa Claus in like the mall or something, they say, "Oh, that's Santa's husband."
Aww.
Right?
Wow.
And so this artwork is of this black Santa, and his white husband, and being kissy and stuff. So it's more about that than it is about really the post, everything else you got here. So
yeah, so it was pretty cool that people know well enough other people's proclivities that they think of them when they post stuff online. So there was a cute little back and forth about that. And then out of the blue, we posted a video called Fear Pong Democrats versus Republicans, which we are not necessarily in the business of politics with our podcast, but when you watch it, you'll understand, because as it got posted, it said, "Would you look at that bear? Woof."
That was me posting.
And here's the crazy thing. So Jeff posts this, right? Based on the thumbnail, this was not what I thought it was. Because I thought the thumbnail was representing a certain person in a certain political light. But then when you watch the video, it's not anything like you think, which is quite funny. So then we got some interesting comments. Unexpectedly, Michael Edwards says, "Yay, Tom!" And then Tom Conquergood like kind of gives like a little wave. And I was like, and then I realized once I had watched the video and saw the comment and the tag, I was like, well, hello there, cutie Tom, because Tom's the bear that's in the video. You have to watch the video. And then, of course, Jeffrey, of course, was like, BT dubs, I swear it's not a thirst friend request.
Because I sent him a friend request.
And then Tom gave a cute, like, kissy, winky face. And then Brian J. Dilk said, "You're awesome, Tom." So you have to watch it. It's pretty cool. The concept is beer pong, only they call it fear pong because the two ideological parties that are being represented and the two individuals are playing beer pong, and there are some dares. It's kind of like truth or dare between the two of them, depending on which cup the ball goes into and stuff like that. But it was kind of cool, like conceptually. I was a little concerned at first, but it wasn't hateful. So I thought it was an interesting way to have an adult discussion about some stuff. So yeah, there's that.
Speaking of Daddy Santa pictures, remind me later. Typically, for the Derby City Bear Winter Gala, I am naughty Mrs. Claus. And our Santa from like 2 years ago, I think you would be more than happy to see pictures of, and I will be happy to send that to you later.
Look, usually if it's a guy who somehow represents in some way, shape, or form the stereotypical Santa Claus, you're pushing my buttons.
He doesn't look like a stereotypical Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say that. But I think it'll still warm the cockles of your heart, so to speak.
I knew that line was coming.
The cock balls.
Well, you can talk about cock. Makes you just stand right up, doesn't it?
Not on YouTube.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
Never happen. Continuing with our feedback, Chester, what's been going on over in Twitter?
We have one new follower, Big Game Bear.
Now I'm curious to know who Big Game is.
I don't know, but his profile, his flavor text on his profile just says, "I'm a weed smoking, video game playing, bears loving bear from Detroit, Michigan."
Alrighty then.
I do not know him.
Put it on out there, baby.
But welcome. I like the game.
Yay.
And the bear part, of course. And the big part. Anyways, moving on. So, Gary.
So this week's topic, the show is called the Klondykes. To give a little bit of history, I didn't do my homework. Bad, Gary. We previously had Miss Tammy on many moons ago, in which we talked about women in the bear community and I don't want to call it the movement, but maybe an evolution in which women see themselves as a part of the bear community and that they also like the same type of men that we do. But it's not maybe always so much about a sexual thing. Concepts of the bear community is about inclusivity and being fun, kind of as we've joked about, liking food, liking, men in their natural masculine state. And so Ms. Tammy has been involved as a woman in both leather and bear communities and has other women that she's known. And that is tying us into Courtney coming on today. So we wanted to get to know you better, Courtney, about what you've been doing. You recently had an event that I think was the first of its kind, to my knowledge, that's helping kind of, I think, give people an opportunity to brand their mindset, their scope on stuff. So Chester actually helped kind of line us up for us to do the show and have you on today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
It's pretty awesome. So why don't we do some little intro stuff to start off with? You are known for what I think are called the Klondykes, or we were discussing earlier, there's kind of like a longer name in reference to that.
So I made it as Klondykes of the Ohio Valley. I kind of wanted to keep it broad to try and get a larger following coming into it. I don't actually know membership details. I know that I add people to the page all the time. It's inclusive, all gender spectrum. But the idea is it's really a community for community-driven women and those who support them. That's always been a really big deal with me in the bear community, that we're always doing some kind of fundraising or having fun or doing both at the same time. And you don't really see that much happening with a lot of the lesbian or females in the community. So there's a lot of great women out there who are community driven and do, help with events like this. But there's not really a community for them to come together in kind of that fraternal way that bears do. So that was the formation of the group.
So it never really occurred to me. You just said something about women and lesbians identifying with the group and coming into the group. It never occurred to me that I would ever want to be part of a women's group.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm typically on board with what most women's movements, being feminist, it never occurred to me that I would want to or seek out that type of group. On the flip side of that, when I hear about women entering bear spaces, or I have a friend, her name is Terry, that lives in St. Louis, who's a member of the Show Me Bears. I met her at hibernation last year. It never really crossed my mind that it was wrong that she was part of the group. I never had any stigma towards her being there. When she said she was part of the group, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then went about my business.
So for me, I was kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum where, as I was talking about with you all earlier, I've kind of always grew up with bears. So
can you elaborate why?
Both of my dads are gay. My biological father is actually North American Bear 2015, Mr. Dan Chesser. And then my second father, Michael Medley, has been in my life since I was like 4 years old. So, I had gay men teaching me how to do my makeup. I had, and they're all uncles. Each of them have their own uncle title. I had people who did drag for fun for like Halloween and stuff, like giving me these awesome like boots that I still wear. So I kind of already grew up with bears being a big part of my family, really just an extended family. And you're right in that from what I've heard, going on with making this a group and an event as well, is that throughout the years, women, like I said, don't really have that space to have a community-driven group on their own. So you've seen women go into bear groups. I've heard of, groups where a woman walked in and was just like, I'm a bear now. I'm here. And she was really well accepted in some ways. And then in others, you don't. There are still competitions and spaces that if it becomes inclusive to women, people will state that they don't want to go. Our own group, we're very lucky that the Derby City Bears actually started us off with what they call a Goldilocks title, which is a woman who is an admirer, advocate, or supporter of bears. And I won that title 2015. My partner won it 2016. And so they're actually very inclusive in that way. And it's always been supportive. But like, even when my partner Jade ran, there was a point in the competition where her co-competitor, the other one running for Goldilocks, was a bigger girl, and a gentleman in the crowd was kind of clucking her, like, if we're going to have women in this competition, they might as well be good to look at. And yeah. And so my partner actually called him out in her, her closing statements, like, bears are about inclusiveness. They're about having fun. They're about body positivity. If you can't make room for someone else here on the stage who's putting themselves out there, you don't need to be here. And so that wasn't necessarily the drive for making the Klondykes a thing. But it certainly lends itself to the evolution. If that answers your question.
No, it definitely does for me. I find it interesting. I did go back and find that it was COL440. It was actually 2 years ago when we had Miss Tammy on and talked about it. The show's called Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And yeah, one of the things that, Miss Tammy, we had talked about at that time was this concept of women who feel very much at home in the bear community, and the dynamic issues about women, whether or not they're accepted, whether or not men feel uncomfortable if they, I don't want to say attacked, but they feel like, being infringed upon. And it's this interesting intersection because the bear community is about gay men. Like, all stop. It's about men who love men. And I think that's what's confusing for folks because they think of it in terms of sex. And so they immediately go to that. And it's one of the things that we've talked about, that a woman in a men's space, so to speak, will shut down the sexuality or the, hormones or whatever. And yeah, that's true, but that's not 100% driving us all the time. Like, bear groups that go out and have dinner. It's not not an orgy, it's dinner. They're going to a public restaurant. So like
They're
that's an aspect,
socializing.
right? They're socializing. It's an aspect of the community that doesn't revolve around penis. No offense. So, I think there's a lot of space within that to determine different things. And so when we had Miss Tammy on, it was important to have that discussion. And if you go and listen to that show, which by the way, we think you should, in that we talk about that Miss Tammy actually got a profile on Growler and what that experience was like for her. And by the way, she's still on it today. Ding. So, it was a good way to kind of begin this conversation, and then to find out that you're starting a group and what that experience has been like is part of why we wanted to have you on, to basically kind of continue and help the community at large and others learn that there are spaces, times, places, all of that kind of stuff. And that, we were talking a little bit about title stuff. I know we had talked, I think, back in that episode that Chuck Mallory for North American Bear, he was president at the time, I think, of KBB, Kentucky Bourbon Bears, and they had considered for NAB looking at having women become involved in the title piece of it, and they decided to put it up in front of the attendees to kind of decide that for the coming year. It was a very interesting way of handling things. The decision at that time was made to not have women involved in the title process. But to me, I was like, yeah, this is the beginning of a step of progression and evolution for the community. I just wasn't sure if the community was ready. And I say it that way because I think there's still a lot of generational individuals that are dealing with themselves and their place. And then this, I don't know how else to say it, it complicates things, I think, for them. Because if you're an older individual who's come out later in life, and you may have lived your life with a family, with a woman, with kids, and all of that, and then you decide or determine, for yourself that actually you are a gay individual and that you are a part of this community that you find with it, I can understand how you're kind of like, but I was like, you know what I mean? I think there's like kind of a distance thing that happens mentally about, I have a family and I keep that over here and those things and how that impacts stuff. And I don't know if that's anything that's kind of relevant to the beginning of the group and how you've done stuff. Because notably, your situation, your history is incredibly unique. I mean, right off the bat, you're kind of like, oh, I've got two gay dads. Ta-da! Like,
Yeah. Well, and for me, it was definitely a journey. I was actually on the board for the Derby City Bears. We'll start it there. It actually started much further. I told you all before, my leather scene name is Mama Bear. That was given to me by my partner, Jade Veers, or Cub, because I hung out with bears all the time and I was very motherly. So she's like, "You're Mama Bear. There you go." But while on the board for the Derby City Bears, it's kind of interesting because you hear about women talking about how, they're not necessarily listened to. Like, if you're having a conversation with men and women, women often say, well, I'll say something, but it's not recognized until a man says it. And I don't want to get into, like, I'm not saying that men are innately super sexist or anything like that. But when I was on the board for the Derby City Bears, I did kind of see moments like that where if I had the idea, it wasn't necessarily heard until someone else would say it. Or, things weren't taken as seriously if I wanted to do it, but, if someone else did that was a man, maybe it would be. And that's kind of been, unfortunately, a history within the Derby City Bears. And, they are I don't want to give the wrong impression. They are super inclusive, but there are still those moments where, you see a patriarchal mindset come through. And one of those was, they're in hopes of planning maybe a bigger run, and I hope I'm not ruining anything, for Louisville. And with our Goldilocks titles, Jade and I had been approached by several people. Hey, that's really cool. People don't do that. You all should really take this a little bit further. And so I had kind of pitched it a few times to the group, and it was received, but nobody really wanted to pick it up. And I was kind of getting distraught about it. Like, this is something really cool that we do that no one else does. People are very interested in it. They want it to go further. I've heard both men and women talk about this. And for me, it was just kind of a shame that, something that was so cool and people were so interested in, and we weren't really doing much with it. It was just like, oh, you get a title. Cool. And again, that's still a big step for, women of this history, as you were talking with Miss Tammy about. So then our event coordinator with that group kind of brought me to the side. And he's like, look, you have a great idea. Why don't you just run with it on your own? Like, yeah, okay. And I kind of stepped back from it. I was like, well, I don't want to offend bears. That's a lot of people in a community that I care about. I don't want to feel like I'm overstepping boundaries. Nobody's going to pick this up anyway. And I kind of was just like, yeah, I should, but I'm not really going to. And I had let it slip to a couple other people that I had interest in this, but wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. And someone had brought up out of Ohio, her name is Michelle. She is also in the leather community. And she had met me, and she's like, I know some people identify as female bears, but she kind of put it to a Facebook poll. Like, what do you guys think about female bears? Is there such a thing? Is it possible? And people from the Louisville area just bombarded her post with my name and was like, oh my God, Courtney Chesser is doing this. It's a thing. It's a competition. Courtney, hey. And I went from this moment of, no, I'm really just going to let this die out. I swear. It's just not going to happen to, oh, well, I guess now I really have to do it. People are actually kind of showing up for this. And with that, it's kind of what you're talking about with that intersection. I got overwhelmingly a lot of positive support from both my leather community and my bear community. I had so many people asking to help that when it came to the night of, I'm like, no, really, I'm good. Thank you for offering, but I don't know. I don't have anything to give you. Like, we're good. I appreciate it. So, that was a really great thing. But like I said, you still had positive and negative. I'm not really sure who, but it came back to me that there was a comment, well, we've already given them the Goldilocks title. Why do they need more? And so, I kind of had a discussion with this individual. Well, that's really what it comes down to. It's not that we've been given this title. Sometimes you kind of have to step out on your own. And so there was some negative, but overwhelmingly it was a positive reaction. And I think it's just like you said, it's just a natural step in the evolution for what's going on in this community.
Right. And I think that's where people struggle. It's change. People are not comfortable with change. Like, inherently, we like context. We like to see, like, this is my environment and I understand it. I know the landscape. And so when you change the rules or add new individuals, you kind of shift things around, people get uncomfortable because now they have to adjust to the new norm or whatever that thing that may be. And it's interesting to hear you talk about that kind of pushback concept. I don't know how else to call it. It kind of sounds a little misogynistic to be like, oh, well, we've given you a title. Basically, what the hell more do you want? I'm like, what? Like, how about like a seat at the table, some like equal representation, perhaps? Like,
but I mean, that's the thing, and that's kind of what it came down to is I would love a seat at your table. But I'm woman enough, I'm going to make my own damn table and everybody can come sit over here. We wear pink on Wednesdays over there if we're going to sit over here. And like I said, overwhelmingly, though, it was a very positive approach. And I actually found out, the further I got into this, that we are the first in the sense that it is a competition directed toward a majority female title holdership. However, it is not the first female bear title, I learned. There's actually Southwest International Bear. They actually have a mama bear title. They have had it for 2-3 years. I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I just recently found out about this. And their current title holder was actually at my competition, and I actually found that out afterwards, which was super cool. Really? Atlanta this year had actually attempted to do a Miss Bear title. She was unfortunately unable to compete due to some family stuff, but they were trying to make space for that. You have World Bear next year, which is Adam Rodriguez out of Lexington. He is actually going to do a Miss Bear title, and then Cub and Chaser is going to remain open to all genders. So all of my title holders will actually be able to compete in that competition, which is super cool. So it's kind of been there, but the new thing with this particular group and competition is it's geared to show that women have the majority of the attention. By all means, I love men and women. I'm pansexual. Let me have them all. But it gives them a platform to kind of step out and be on their own. They don't need a seat at the table.
I think it's interesting you say it that way. It ties back to Chester. You had made a comment of like, as a man, I hadn't thought about trying to join like a women's group. Which I am the opposite of that. My best friend and her wife used to go to the Women's Festival in Ohio, and it's this big celebration of women, and they have vendors and entertainers, and they bring in like lesbian comedians and all this stuff, and I hear them talk about it, and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, and if it was a festival that was open, I would definitely go to it. It's just I would never seek out a club.
Well, but here's the thing. So I asked them about going, and it got awkward. Like, they both kind of looked at each other, and it got silent. And then they said, you're not allowed to go. And I just looked at them, and I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, men are not allowed. It's a women's only space. So I had to suddenly face, like, the exact flip opposite of when we talk about bear stuff, women are not necessarily included, not just in marketing and promotion, but, like, in inclusivity to be within the space. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. And it was funny because I had to get okay with or comfortable with this concept that women can claim their own space. And yes, women can say men are not allowed, just as men can do the same thing in the opposite direction. And so going to NAB and then meeting Ms. Tammy and seeing in that way the maneuvering of a woman in a men's space. And that conversation we had in our episode 321, Miss Tammy rightfully said, I'm not a fool. Like, I understand what happens at this event. I am not asking to be fully integrated and involved in all the aspects. Like, I don't need to be joining people in their extracurricular activities. We'll put it that way.
I'm not asking for permission to go to the hospitality suite.
I mean... I'd go.
Well, I knew you were going to say that too.
Well, okay, so the other part of that is in my community, and I used to hate hearing this, but now I'm just like, yeah, totally. I am always told I am a gay man trapped in a woman's body because I am literally a carbon copy of my father. both good and bad, ornery or nah. And kind of one of those moments that showed up for me, like what she's talking about, where you go in, I don't need to be in what you're doing, but I'm going to be here. I don't know if you know Jeff Hinken. He is a local leather title holder. He was Mr. Midwest 2017, 16. He's going to kill me because that's my Fairly Kink godfather, and I don't know his title year. But every year he has like this huge 4th of July pool party, and people run around naked or in jock straps, and they kind of do whatever they're going to do. And it kind of came to the end of the night, and I'm the only girl there. And he was like, if someone says anything to you, you tell me about you being here. You tell me, and I will meet them where they are right then and there. I was like, no, I'm good. And so, I kind of went and did my own thing in a bedroom somewhere, and was decided like, yeah, I'm just going to walk around in the buff. Everybody else is. I'm not worried about it. People are doing what they're doing kind of everywhere. And I had some guys come up to me like, normally I'd be really bothered about a woman being naked, but it's just like, you're just like one of the guys. And I'm like, yeah, cool. You gonna move so I can get a soda or something? But that's how it was. I just walking around like it's nothing. Like, okay, you guys are trying to put up a sling in the pool house. Great. Can I have some juice?
Need some help with that sling?
So, last night at the event, I was standing near one of the doorways, and you and your girlfriend had come in, and you had accidentally bumped me, or I bumped into you. I'm not exactly sure what had happened, but it doesn't matter. What matters about it to me is I turned around, and here's this tall blonde woman standing there in a houndstooth, what is that, a sports bra?
It's a crop top. It's okay. Actually a t-shirt. So
a houndstooth crop top. And I was like, oh, houndstooth. Oh, wait, you're in a jock. And it like, I had things firing off in my brain like, this doesn't compute. But then all of a sudden I was like, well, why the fuck doesn't compute? I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing my jock strap right now. I've got 2 of them.
The thing that I loved the most about it is it wasn't any like just a jock strap that you could go to Meijer or Walmart to buy. It was a Manhunt jock strap, and I fucking loved it. That's
so fun story, true story. My dad Dan actually got that somewhere for like a promotional thing, and he had never worn it. And we were looking at it. He's like, "Here, you have that." I'm like, yes, I like this. This works for me. And then I've got another one. The local Derby City Sisters did a jockstrap auction, and I was the only female in their auction. And I actually have a pink, white, and yellow jockstrap that my partner bought for me at that I was already wearing. So
nice. I think what's interesting is the ability that you have currently that you're mashing kind of together what we think of as traditional concepts about women and men, and you're owning your identity, your individuality to say, yes, biologically I identify as a woman. I live my life as a woman. However, I do not have to fit into the box, of whatever that is. So what I find interesting is because we have an image that Chester had taken and we saw it before the show. And Chester, what you just described is exactly what I zeroed in on. I was like, oh, there's Glitter Bear title holder. That's great. And I was like, hold on a second. She is wearing houndstooth over her titties. I'm like, and I know what that means. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure, I didn't ask because I wanted to wait for the show, not to do a gotcha thing. But I was like, I'm pretty sure Miss Courtney's wearing a jock strap in this picture.
I sure was.
And it didn't bother me, but I will say you're the first woman I think I've ever seen in a jock strap that I was like, oh, I guess women can wear them. Like, I just don't think about that.
You gotta have a hell of a fupa. Let me tell you.
Oh, boy.
Actually, and this I was kind of talking to you all about this earlier too. And I'm sorry I have to keep coming back to leather, but that's where I do a lot of my stuff. I do both what I call daddy looks and mommy looks. And my partner and I won a photo shoot with a local photography artist. And in it, we actually did both my daddy looks and my mommy looks. And I'll try and put it in the chat here in a second. But like my daddy look, I have like this chain and leather harness on with like the cap and a cigar hanging out of my mouth. But then like on the flip side of that, I have like my hair up and lipstick and like this beautiful black lace dress. And it really comes down to my dad. My dad is the entire reason for that because, you know, he taught me like, here, you're going to learn how to sew and patch your own pants and, you know, how to do a French knot on a button. But on the flip side of that, like just the other day, he and I changed my brakes together. So he's like, nobody's going to tell you you need a man in this world. You're going to do what you got to do. So
your father sounds like an amazing man.
He really, both of them are. I am a very lucky girl that way.
I think what people probably are finding those moments, like what Chester just described, what I described, what men may be facing is this new reality of the neutrality, I guess is what I'll call it. And that is to say, while we have grown up and developed as a human society to say that there are two genders and that there are roles defined by those genders, the truth is that that's not all that there is. We don't have to be binary in that, you know, there's just men and women. There's this, you know, a lot of the gray, a lot of in between. You know, many times of a certain age of generation, we talk about the Kinsey scale and the extremes and, you know, what kind of comes in between them. And I think that's the part that confuses folks is, oh yeah, it's quite possible for a woman to be herself, but then take on that masculinity or that femininity. And it's not exclusive to just men or gay men. You know, it's interesting because I think far too often we always view things, and I'll own this as a cis male who's white, you know, and all the privilege and all the rest of the stuff that comes with that. I don't think in that scope. I don't see the landscape from a perspective of what a woman experiences or how that works and how we kind of don't give them the same kind of, I don't know, equal footing or representation. I think about drag. I mean, Chester and I, you know, and Damon, we work together for the sub-series we do about Drag Race. Notably, we're going on season 10, 3 seasons of All Stars, right? And there's not drag kings represented yet, but they exist. Yeah. I say yet. I think it's going to come about. But even when I go to see a drag show, I'll see 7 queens, maybe 1 king. And I think that's an interesting, like, kind of representation. And I'm not trying to blur and, like, bring together or say that there's a relevance between what you're doing with the Klondykes and that it has to do with drag kings. That's not the point. It's just about the percentages and the representation and how, like, I think Klondykes is about claiming space and helping get that representation to be seen and understand, you know, that we're just human beings. Like, that's really the true big box. And then how we move from there is up to us. Like, one of the things that RuPaul says, which I think is fun, is like, what are your colors? Like, how are you going to paint your life? How are you going to, you know, fill in with the crayon or whatever it is? You have to figure out what it is that you choose about yourself that's authentic, how it makes you happy, where you want to go, you know, and be okay with that. And whether, you know, you're dead fast down the middle or you want to be on one side or the other. You know, I think it's pretty cool that you were giving a description and you're kind of like, so yeah, there's this thing that's kind of like feminine and then there's this other thing that's kind of masculine. Like, does it really matter? No, not necessarily, you know?
So you had just said some key words there, Gary, that I do want to come back around to something that happened last night. And it happened to my friend Terry from St. Louis back at Hibernation last year, but I'm not going to discuss that. But I do want to point out what happened last night. So you just said the words claiming space. And the reason why I think that is important is because of an incident that happened last night at Pride Bar in Louisville during Cameron's event. There were some gentlemen who were very displeased that there were women at the event. And I didn't know this at the time, but Tammy just mentioned in the chat that the one gentleman in particular was disturbed by Courtney and wearing the jockstrap at the event. As I said, I waited for there to be a break in the show to go out and actually say hi to Miss Tammy. And when I was out there, she had mentioned to me, she's like, "Yeah, we've got these table of guys behind us that are just pissed right off that we're here." And I'm like, "Really? Why is that?" And I'm trying to like wrap that around my own brain, that what is the big deal? This isn't a men's space. This is a gay bar. This isn't a men's leather contest or anything like that. It is an event about no body shaming. So why are these men so pissed off that there are women here? It's not their space. It's a public space.
And it actually went further than that. Remind me, and I'll come back to you with the story about Jade with those particular guys, because I know who you're talking about.
It was just shortly after that we heard the music come back up, and we all it was funny. All of us, all at the same time, were like, "I'm kind of cold. Let's go back inside." So we all got back up, and we were walking inside, and I was a few steps behind Miss Tammy. And as she's walking, she like deadlocked eye to eye with this man. And the entire time she's slowly going back to her seat, making eye contact with this guy. She's got this huge grin on her face. And the only thing that I could think of in my head that she was thinking at that moment is, "Fuck you. I'm allowed to be here. If you don't like it, you get the fuck out." And it made me happy to see that, and brought a big smile to my face. And I'm like, that is the Miss Tammy that I know.
Oh yeah, us Lady Bears, we'll challenge you. You can't make eye contact. We'll bite your jugular.
I think what is interesting is that it's challenging concepts of norm is really what it comes down to. There is a huge, like fuck crazy amount of presumption that, unless legally or somehow through, I don't know, membership or whatever, there's an identification that this is men only, then it is quite reasonably fair that women are going to be present in that. I think of it this way. The event that I put on, one of the things that comes up every year is someone talks to me about, whether or not nudity can be allowed. And it's like, well, no, because it's not a private space. It's a public space that we all happen to be collecting in. And there's this thing called staff. And we're not the staff. We are the guests. So the staff helps make the space happen, whether it be the water park or the hotel or whatever. So, yeah, it's quite likely there's going to be women around. And if that's going to make you uncomfortable, then you need to think about that. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, you just need to be aware of that. So I think it's good to know that a bar, while it may seem as a defined space, in one definition in a person's mind is not always going to be that case. And I think there's a difference between people who are there to shit stir and people who are there just to, like everybody else, have a good time. And I don't see, like, Lady Bears, the Klondykes, Goldilocks, whatever, label a person wants to give, is shit stirring. I think it's just, hey, I'm here to have a good time just like you. I like men just like you. Whether I choose to have sex with these men or just like look at these men, or these men are my family, these men are my friends, these men raised me, it doesn't matter. But I think for some people, they don't know that. There's a lot that they're missing. And it sounds like this gentleman in particular was missing that.
So there was a group of them, and he, like I was saying, my girl Jade kept trying to walk past the bar. And at one point, she's actually just standing at the bar to get a drink. And he was mentioning to his friend, like, if this chick walks by well, he called her a B word. I'm trying to watch my language now.
We're not.
Oh, you're
good.
Let it fly.
You can say whatever.
I was like, it's gonna be on YouTube. Might need to.
No, you can say fuck all you want.
Okay, well, fine. He called her a bitch and was like, if this bitch walks by one more time, I'm gonna trip her. And is like, it's a bar. You're there to get a drink. He's sitting at the spot where, you come up to order drinks, and he's like trying to elbow her out of the way. And, she turned around and hauled ass on him like, look, I'm here to order a drink. I'm sorry that you feel I'm in your personal space, but you're at the bar. I mean, flipped him off and walked on. But, yeah, very just anti-female. And that's why I say, it's not just outright, we're not wanted there and that, it's this innate patriarchal thing in men. I mean, I know very well I'm loved in many spaces. I don't need confirmation on that. But it is still very much men want their space. And I totally get that. Like, have your events, have whatever you want to do, whether you want me there or not. I get it. You want to be there with men. Great. Have fun. And I don't think people see it, as an option. Like, if you're not wanted in that space, there should be communal spaces, but then again, if you're not wanting in that space, make your own space. Throw some elbows is what my dad taught me. It's the sharpest bone on your body. Firmly plant yourself and say, this is my space. You can have your space over there. I want this to be a shared space, but you're welcome in my space or you're not.
I think it's interesting because the one thing that you just said, Courtney, I think is what people lost is that this is a common space. Like, yes. This is a collective space that we all can be in. And the equivalency that comes to mind that is incredibly not to the level of, like, correct, like, parallel or giving it the proper recognition or service, whatever you want to call it, is this reminds me of what we know of that we were taught about the civil rights era and how, like, a business, whatever that is, a space, was still being treated a certain way, even though technically it should have been equally available to everybody. And that's the part that I'm kind of wonder about is how have we lost our own way as far as recognizing we've been down this path before. This is not that different. To say that a person of color can be in a space is not really any different than the person who identifies themselves differently than you do on the gender spectrum also can be in the same space. So I think it's interesting. You're kind of like, if you want to have a men-only space, then create a men-only space. This is not it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm giggling because of what Miss Tammy just said in our chat. She first she wanted to say that I didn't know that he said that to Jade. I wish I'd known, but this is what I was laughing at. But all his buddies left him. He ended up at the table by himself for the rest of the night, so he got his space.
He sure did. He looked like a grumpy, sourpuss old man.
Ooh, talk about burn.
Yeah.
I have a question about your father in the community. Is he also from the Louisville area?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So fun story, true story. I was actually raised in 3 cities at once. So I was raised in Nelson County, Kentucky, Anderson County, Kentucky, and then Louisville. Dad is originally from Spencer County, but growing up, he lived in Louisville. So Louisville kind of became my home in that way. Even though I went to school in a different county and I'd only come here every other weekend, Louisville's where I flourished. It's where I found, people I want to call my extended family.
So in that, where your dad comes from and growing up, one of the things we wanted to kind of know about is how did you learn about bears? I mean, I think I'm going to make a presumption here that you're going to say it comes from your dad or daddy or however you want to refer to your father, I guess. But I don't know how else to say this. Girl, you're unique because you grew up in a home with two gay men who have leather bear like identities and backgrounds, and they brought that into the home, and that is also something that you've applied to your life. So I'm very intrigued by this concept of like that you grew up within that frame, and that you for yourself also decided to make that a part of your life, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay, so I think I know what you're asking. You're wondering if, did I become a dad and leather because my dad was doing, or not a dad, a bear and leather because that's what my dad was doing. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Well, that's a piece of it. I mean, I don't think that, like, I'll put it this way. Like, my father was a truck driver my whole life. I'm not a truck driver because my dad was a truck driver, although I will officially own right now that is part of, like, one of my preferences and, like, identity of role play and sexuality. But anyways, so...
Baby, I got a trucker hat with your name on it.
As long as he can turn it backwards at the glory holes.
Oh, man. All right, back to the point I'm trying to make, which is, how did you determine for yourself, like, becoming who you are? Because you seem to be really grounded, well-rounded, as far as your personality, like, conceptually, you have an identity, you have a concept of who you are. And that aspect of it, because it's going to lead into us getting into talking about your contest, but what kind of put that together for you? How did you, I guess, make that journey, if you can kind of distill that, I guess, really?
So yes, my dads were both a big influence in it, and just that, they kind of allowed me to be who I wanted to be. If I wanted to do, magic tricks, great. We'll be at the magic show. Just let us know when it is. But my dad will tell you on the same, side of that coin, I was so independent, I don't think he could have stopped me if he wanted to. I was just very big on, like, no, it's my way. Like, you don't understand. I know exactly what I want to do. I'm going to do it, damn it. And then, my leather community and, just Louisville's community in general. There is something about Louisville that is just so open and warm, and we kind of get picked on when we go to other cities and events because the first thing we want to do is hug and kiss you, and some people are like, ooh, I don't like that. You're so touchy-feely. But it's a really great thing down here because you get people who just kind of support you in whatever you're doing. I was saying that I had more support than I knew what to do with for the competition. And I truly mean it, that's kind of just the mentality of our area. I mentioned Daddy Jeff Hinken, who is my Fairly Kink godfather. He kind of always says I'm his success story because, I knew what I wanted to do, and I was like, you know what, I'm tired of people telling me I can't do it or won't do it or whatever, and kind of stepped out on my own. So part of it, a lot of it is, being in a community that allows you to do those things, being in a family and household that allows you to do those things. And then at some point you just kind of step out and realize, as much as, I seem to think someone's going to tell me I shouldn't do this, or that you're going to look stupid doing it. I kind of just got more concerned with, this is fun. I'm going to go do this. Why not? So, like, hi, honey. This is Jade, by the way.
Hi, Jade.
Awesome.
Hi, Jade.
Grab a chair. Pull up. So, because I suffer from anxiety and depression, so used to, like, I wouldn't put myself out there, and it was kind of like I'm missing out on things I could be doing because I'm so worried about what people are going to think. And again, this does kind of go back to my dad, that he was like, just do it, accept what you want to do and do it. And so that's where it ended up going. Just if I want to look like a fool trying to do a striptease for the first time on a stage, heck yeah. If I'm gonna go, what was one thing we did? We did, like, tattoos, temporary tattoos. We had friends over and just did temporary tattoos on each other and had a blast. You have to focus on, small moments and enjoying them with people and the people who matter in your life and just kind of going from there.
So in terms of that, when did you figure out or kind of determine for yourself what a bear is, I guess, by definition? Like, and how did you ascribe yourself to that?
So my dad used to always kind of describe it in layman's terms. They're big, furry gay men. And it's kind of gotten further in, it really happened when I met her, that they're ornery. We like food. We like to sleep. We like, the small comforts in life and just having a good time.
Was there a point in your growing up where you said, Dad, what's a bear?
Well, yes and no. He was kind of just offhandedly talking about it, a bear, and I was like, well, what's that? I don't even remember how old I was. I was very young. And he's like, it's a big furry gay man, and just kept trucking. And so, yeah. And so from a very young age, that's how I would describe it to people at school. Like, oh, they're big furry gay men. And you just keep going. And then, as I kind of got old enough to be in bars and, do whatever it is I do, you kind of realize, no, there's more to it. It's, you accept your body for what it is. You,
brotherhood.
Yeah, brotherhood. That's a really big part of it.
So this might be a little too personal. Around your household with your two fathers, did they have like bear knickknacks, like random shit?
Really? They didn't have
like,
let her
like
lie to you.
this. Just
they did. Okay, when I was younger, they did not. Now, like, they have bear coasters. My dad actually took one of the props that I had for Klondykes, which is this really cool, like, geometric bear face that I found at Hobby Lobby. So, like, his thing is more so honeybees. My family has been known to raise honeybees for a while. So, like, he'll, we love honey. We always get the honey in the little bear and that kind of stuff. That's more of the idea you see now that they've kind of gotten more involved with the Derby City Bears. I do see the bear pride flag a lot more. You see, like, a bear bottle opener that they had won in an auction basket, stuff like that. More often I saw underwear and stuff from bear events, like towels or so that's more of what
towels or towels.
Like Drenched Fur one year did like the towels. Yes, I've seen the little towels. I've seen what was it here? Her dad
that specific towel, Gary, maybe?
Gary just happens to have one handy.
Hey!
No. This is not one of them. I'm trying to hide my face. I am like a little mortified right now. Hearing
I've seen like the Steamworks. Like I saw more of like the stuff you see when you go to bear runs, and like if they were deemed suitable for children, like Dad would give them to me.
I made a barrette out of the Steamworks bear for her.
I do. I have a silver Steamworks bear that I wear in my hair.
Maybe you've got an Etsy shop on your hands and you don't even know it.
Well,
there you go.
I'm crafty.
Well, if you need any paraphernalia, there's this great store at Zazzle.com/CubsOutLoud. Has some great products.
So let's talk about how you got the Not Your Average Bear contest started. Like, so how did that come about? And why don't you start there?
Okay, so I've already touched on this a little bit, but it started off with people just showing interest in the Goldilocks title. And so the more I thought about, people are asking, what else are they going to do with it? This is really cool. We want to see more. And so we pitched it to the bear group, and they liked it, but they weren't ready to run with it. And so I was kind of directed by, someone to step out and say, why don't you try and do it? And I was like, I guess I could. I mean, I've worked with enough bear events that I could probably do this. It wouldn't be an issue. And that was back in February or April. And then started kind of looking into it, had picked a venue, had done a couple other small things, and really just started getting down on myself that nobody was going to get interested. So I'm like, nobody knows about this. I'm just going to let it die. It's going to die a slow death. No one needs to know. It's good. It's great. And then, the post happened where our friend in Ohio was asking about female bears after meeting us, because my title is Mama Bear. This is Cub. And got drugged as if I was being drugged by wild horses through this post, up one side and down the other. And kind of regained my confidence, like, okay, people will come to this. Okay. So now we actually have to plan it after I thought this was going to die. And so we kind of started out with, we know we want it to be a title competition, but we just kind of want to turn things on its head. Originally, I had actually played with the idea of making a title for a female to male transgender bear. And this kind of touches back on what you were talking about, where even the idea that there's another gender besides male or female is sometimes kind of taboo in the bear world. And it was kind of brought to my attention, well, you're lumping them together. They're not really the same thing. But yeah, I guess you're right. I don't want to put my foot into something and then put my foot directly into my mouth. So we decided, we'll just do a female bear, cub, and hunter, but I still want to be all-inclusive. So why not just do what the bears do with girls as a Goldilocks and have a guy do it? And someone told me about the name Glitter Bear, and I was like, I need it. I need it in my life. So we were like, okay, Glitter Bear. That's the fourth one. So I kind of went through and was more on, okay, this is what we're doing for background. This is what we're doing for fundraising, working on the logistics of it. And then we knew we wanted to do kind of an auction. So I put that in Jade's hands and she ran with it. So she was collecting donations. And right around June, it really started picking up and just finding its own speed. And so we got to the night of, and it went really well. We had a lumberjack theme, also thanks to my partner. She's like, it needs a lumberjack theme. Okay, we'll do lumberjack.
Well, if you think about it, the traditional sense of the word bear was, again, a group of men that were not included in the in the gay community because they stood out. They weren't pretty muscle boys. And so when they formed together, the idea that a bear was, and again, this is what I've learned from Dan and, of course, the other bears that have fostered me because of her, is that it's supposed to be a hyper-masculine or masculine. And over time, now, especially with newer generations, they're accepting that bears can be feminine and slay and work queen, and I'm all about that. I love a bear. Give me a bear in a crop top. But we still wanted to hold true to the original. Still wanted to hold true to that original homage about a competition where women were bears, and they started off showing the masculine side of females. Because again, the idea of a woman bear was so outlandish. Why not a masculine woman bear?
Mm-hmm. And kind of what you're talking about, I think, is something that relates back to the other thing I mentioned that Chester and I follow and are invested in terms of drag. Drag is meant to parody reality. It's meant to entertain, but help point out the ridiculousness of how we build things and how we operate. like what we think of our gender roles, or how a person wants to be seen or viewed and what that means. And that's why Rue has said forever that drag will never be mainstream, because drag pokes fun at mainstream. It's supposed to be extreme. It's not a part of the in crowd. It's making fun of the in crowd, so to speak, or whatever we think is acceptable or appropriate. So I like the idea that you're like, you know what, like this is how we want to view it. I used to put on a bear run in Pittsburgh, and we would have a uncontest, we referred to it as. And I've tried to describe it to people at that time. It was at the height of some of the norms within the bear community I think we've moved beyond, which was you wore Wrangler jeans, Carhartt shit kickers, cut off sleeve flannel shirts. You had a beard, short cropped hair. I mean, it was just this like hyper masculine archetype concept when everybody was like, all their juices were flowing because Jack Radcliffe was tripping everybody's triggers. It's one of these things that kind of cracks me up, because we were like, yeah. And at that time, contests were common. Every bear run had a contest. Yes. And we kind of poked fun at it. We were like, we're going to do something silly. We're going to call it an uncontest, and you're not going to really get anything. Like, you get a title, but that's it. Like, there's no cash prize. You don't get to take this anywhere. You don't get to tout like this thing. And then the contest was silly. So like you had to balance Kansas SpaghettiOs on your forehead, or like it was just stupid on purpose, because we were trying to point out, like, if a contest is meant to be competitive, then you should be doing things that actually challenge, as opposed to just focusing on a particular aspect, which at the time felt a lot like contests were which I said for many years, and I've kind of since retired, but I'll use it in this context. I used to say contests at that time really were like, who does everybody want to fuck? Yeah. And that became problematic for me, because I was like, that's not what the bear community is about. The bear community wasn't founded on who does everybody want to have sex with, and that's it. Yeah. It's more than that. I mean, let's be realistic. Sexuality is a big piece of it. So we're not ignoring that, but I think that's part of this whole evolution concept. And that's where they think of it one way, and they don't really look at it another point. And it cracks me up, because I'm like, yeah, but we're doing fusions of every other goddamn thing that's out there. So it's like, oh, you mean I can have a s'more salted caramel, like Dutch double chocolate macadamia cookie? Well, of course you can. Like, you can have a garbage cookie. You can put all the shit in it. I don't care. Like, so why is it a big deal that, people get out of shape? Oh, that's right, because you're changing the rules. You're changing my stuff. And I think that's where people kind of get a little bent out of shape. So
and I think agree with you. Yeah, like, it's the idea that if you do anything, or if you try to put any idea that is different, biggest thing that it will scare, biggest fear that I think most people that are the naysayers will we had a hell of a good time. It was honoring. I loved it.
So, you've already mentioned who can enter, but I just want to make sure for the 3 titles, they have to be female, correct? Or is it female identifying?
Female identifying. I did open it up pretty general. So there's 4 titles total. And in case you're wondering, yes, we are doing this again next year. I've already had people start pounding at my door. You better be doing this next year.
Aggressive, complimenting, threatening?
Yes.
Aggressively complimenting her.
So next year, it's going to be themed out of the toy box. That hasn't been announced anywhere yet, but it is out of the toy box.
Don't tell anyone. You're not recording this.
I was just going to say, to clarify, this is live to the world.
Yeah, I don't care. They can know. It'll just make planning easier eventually. It's going to be, the 3 main titles are female identifying. The first one being Klondike, which is your traditional bear title.
The main title.
Yeah. Usually, more older or commandeering women, perhaps more into leadership.
Sir.
Yeah.
Mommy, daddy, sir.
Someone who's going to display a lot of leadership qualities and kind of take the most out of what this title is going to mean. They're going to want to step out, create spaces, and just be bigger, body positive women. Then you have the female cub, who may also be bigger, furrier women, but not necessarily as big as maybe a bear. So smaller,
possibly younger.
Yeah, possibly younger, more playful mentality. So if you took a male cub and put them in a female, ta-da.
Ornery.
And then your huntress is going to be like a bear chaser.
Right.
And so that is another female title. So all 3 of those are the female. And then, of course, the 4th one being male identifying, which is glitter bear. And it can be bear or nah. The idea is that.
And their gender identity. Their gender. Shit, how am I supposed to say this? Does it matter if they're more masculine or feminine? It doesn't matter as long as they are male identifying.
To me, I don't care. It was just male identifying, and do you support and represent what this group is about? Do you admire, advocate female bears? Do you admire, advocate, support females in general? And James Butterfield, who ended up being our glitter bear this year, certainly does demonstrate that. He's very big on making spaces for people and body positivity, and I think he's going to do well with his title, just as the rest of my class are going to do. His competitors, James Riot and Chris Orndorff. Chris actually went on stage in drag for every one of his...
Every category.
Yeah, every category of the competition, and did a fabulous job. So for me, and that didn't bother me. He asked it. I was like, I don't care as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do for the title. What do I care? And then it goes even so much further, even with like what their platforms are going to be. Mm-hmm. And I am so proud of this class for what they're looking into, like domestic violence and body positivity. And our Klondike Amelia is big on loving yourself and learning to love yourself before you can, put other positive notes into the world. So
that's fantastic. So you already have the theme for your next run, which is, you said again,
out of the toy box.
Out of the toy box. Okay. And when do you plan on having the contest? And if somebody were to register for, say, Glitter Bear, when would they need to do that by?
You registering for Glitter Bear? Ooh. Well, I had it up until like
the day before.
Yeah, we let people register up until the day before.
And even then, I still took in their entry and retyped it for them.
We'll probably start doing our serious planning around February or March. Like I said, if you're interested, you can just be watching for it around then. We'll start getting stuff up for you all to look into. That answers your question about when registering. We'll probably do the competition close to October again.
It hit between main events, and that was the biggest concern. We didn't want to catch like main leather events, and we didn't want to catch main bear events because those were the majority of people who wanted to come.
Yeah, so
that's understandable.
It'll probably be second or third week of October again, depending on
shenanigans.
Yeah, all the shenanigans, and then yeah, that's kind of when I'm looking to have it again.
And if you want to send in like a preliminary, like keep me posted, you can always send it to her Gmail, which is Klondykes of the Ohio Valley.
That's my name. So during the contest, as I mentioned in person and through our various chats, I just learned about this through my friend Jack.
Hi, Jack.
A week and a half ago as we were on our way down to hibernation, because I mentioned to him that I experienced some female hate in the bear community just recently, and I had brought that up to him and we were discussing it, and he was like, oh yeah, Courtney Chesser, she puts on this event, blah blah blah.
Go Jack, go.
So I know very little about the event itself, but I've been to many other bear contests and leather contests, so I imagine it's not too divergent. But what are some of the categories that are required for the contestants to do?
So we kept it pretty traditional to a bear competition. It was barware, themeware, and then Bear As You Dare. Barware was just kind of like the identifying. You come out, say hi, introduce yourself, and they would wear what they would traditionally wear at a bar. Themeware is when they would come out and do pop questions, either from the judges or from the audience, and try to best display the theme as best as they could. And then Bear As You Dare is as street legally nude as you can get, show your body off, and then also kind of bare your soul, give your closing comments. What do you want to do with this title? What are you thankful for from running in this, So you're bearing yourself both physically and emotionally.
And if I can add, she, again, was raised with the Derby City Bear, so it mirrored a lot of what she competed with. So, again, for someone who wanted to start this whole thing, her biggest thing was being the voice, and you had to be able to embody your message and present your message. And I know some bear contests have like fantasies and all sorts of craziness. God knows I love it. But I think her main goal was the idea that our contestants would be the best at what we expect them to do, which is outreach.
Yeah.
So we try to keep it true to that. Even if it's silly as pop questions, you're going to have a one-on-one question, and God damn it, an icebreaker helps.
Right, it does. Tammy, Miss Tammy in our chat, she was one of the judges for your contest, and she had said the contest was amazing. There was a huge diversity in terms of contestants and their personal expression of gender and personality. And those are things that I'm very passionate about myself. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on to our show, because I think what you're doing for the community is great, and I hope it flourishes throughout the bear community and not just in our little ecosystem of the Ohio River Valley.
Here, here.
I think you're on the first steps of something, and because you're at the beginning, the precipice, if you will, the outer edge, and who knows where it will go from here, it does take time for people to be able to gauge it, scope it, check it out, and then figure out where they want to go from there. So my presumption is this: when you did the contest, it was very homegrown. Like you took parts and pieces of stuff that you knew, but then you also had to probably manufacture stuff on your own, be it from like titles and descriptions to declarations to whatever it is that you're trying to do, because I doubt very highly anybody was banging on your door and being like, hey, I've got fistful of money or hundreds of hours of volunteer time that I just want to throw at you to make this thing a success. I mean, we would all like that to happen, but I have a feeling this was very kind of like homegrown, how you establish things this first time around.
And Jade very much is title of co-producer. We put this on. This was our baby. Our living room had so many basket items all the time.
Call it like the cubicles of despair. Like every little section got a little sadder because like there was more money in one pile. It was all this paperwork in another. It was an endless amounts of craft that she would bring into the home. She's like, I'm building a set. And it's like, okay. And then meanwhile, it's like, unfortunately, we did put a lot of money into this, but the response that we got, the donations that we got for the local charity itself was much more than what we ever put into it. So that was definitely a plus.
We were definitely, on the ground doing the main footwork, but we did have people like Aaron Hudd, who was the Jewel City Bear, 2015, 16. He was offering his services. We had our leather community offering, if we needed their support.
They gave us a promotional suite at GLA, an idea to get other states involved and aware of this. They gave us a suite to promote it.
And they actually liked it so much that they've already promised that again next year. So, in a lot of ways, yes, it was homegrown, but we had a big enough community that supported us enough that we could have had, I didn't feel at any time that I couldn't reach out and grab somebody.
I was this close to printing off shirts, Bear to Care, support local, because the businesses that gave to the silent auction, which I did not have to send one tip pick, they all gave willingly. They donated. The amount of people that, again, they're close friends of ours and who are friends of a friend of a friend that offered anything you need. Let me know. I know a guy who knows a guy. It was really, really crazy how
for the donation, for the basket items and stuff, definitely. But getting it started was very much
oh no, I was only in charge of silent auction. Bear with me. That was my thing.
And it's good to hear that people were coming together in sense of community. I mean, just today when I was in Cleveland before I left, I was discussing with my committee member for an event I put on. Something a theme related for us for this year, and I was like, "Oh, we have to figure out how to make this thing." And the host was there, and he was privy to this sort of, conversation about things that aren't revealed yet. And he goes, "Oh, well, go talk to so and so because they do this." And all of a sudden, I was like, "Duh!" Like that's the light bulb moment. Like I not only do I know this person, but I know a shit ton of people that also know that person, and they'd all probably look at me and be like, did you follow Hit Your Head? Like, obviously, that's the one you go to ask for advice or assistance, or maybe they can point you in the right direction of some other things. So I'm very happy to hear it appears that you had that lovely, kind of environment of people nesting around that was like, hey, I can give you this, or at least I can get you in touch with someone who might be able to do something, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that about covers it, unless there's anything else that you would like to add.
No, are we still talking about the Tumblr? Because
well, we're gonna get to it.
We just wanted to give you an opportunity to wrap up the seriousness before we get into the smut and the wrapping up the show.
I think. Statement? I mean, thank you to all the people that put their time and energy into this, and thank you guys for having us here. Before we get too far into closing, but I mean, we've covered it. It really did hit on. There is so much good happening in the bear community, and I really don't want what I'm saying as far as, the small moments to be a dimmer on it. It really is heading in the right direction, and I think this grew into something so much bigger than what I thought it was going to be. Chester actually came up and said, thank you for what you're doing. And I'm like, that's okay. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's kind of the mentality. Like, you don't realize you're doing something, and it doesn't feel like I'm really doing much at all. It does just kind of feel like a natural extension into what bears already are about and do.
Yeah. I had said to you, thank you for what you're doing for the community. And you said, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I immediately responded with, it doesn't matter. Keep doing it.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Yeah. I mean, I think intention is a big piece of it. That was a part of my conversation, I think, Chester, you and I had. Like, sometimes that gets lost in a conversation. People get, like, so about something, and I'm like, hold up. Like, was the person really trying to create something negative as an experience or inflict harm or whatever? It's just strange to me that people kind of jump to a certain thing. And so you guys are on the path of, we just, like, you already said it, Courtney, you're like, we just want to have fun. Like, we're here. And this is like, we have fun, and that's how we show love, and that's it, you know? So if you're down with that, then stick around, because it sounds like you guys are doing good things, and we're happy to hear about what you have done, and more importantly, what's going to come.
As long as she's here, I'll be here.
She's the handbag, is what she says.
Basically.
Oh, jeez. I think you fulfill a very important role, Jade, because I think what is not talked about often is when crazy people like us that organize and put things on, when we have people that are in our lives, they don't necessarily get the recognition because they're kind of seen on the periphery. Well, like you brought up about Adam, you know, with NAB and the new thing he's going to do next year, Poppy, Victor, you know, he's the one on the side that has to, you know, observe the insanity and be there to help kind of like provide some of that structure. So it's awesome that you're able to join us as well, Jade, because I think you're serving a greater purpose, even if you might feel that you're, you know,
handbag.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to say it because I don't think that's...
Don't let her lie to you. Handbag is her term. I'm always like, this girl, this one, right here.
Think about it, because people think of it in a negative notation. This is going to be my rant. I promise I'll go home. It's the idea that if you have a handbag, you have something you carry with you, close to you. It's always there for you. If you need something, it's got it. I'm her handbag, her anxious ball handbag. Whatever she needs, she's got it.
Nice. That's
awesome. What I was thinking.
Before we start getting into our cool down topics, I just want to make a note for our listeners to make sure they check out our Tumblr page and our Facebook page, because I will be posting a picture of Courtney and James, the 2017 Klondykes Glitter Bear.
Ooh.
Did I say his title correctly?
Oh, yeah, you did.
Okay, just making sure. So while we were at the event last night, I bumped into both of them and then asked them, because I knew they were coming on the show, Courtney was coming on the show, I asked them to pose for a photo, so I will be posting that to our Cubs Out Loud sites.
And with that, speaking of Tumblr. That was a great transition. That's already
I have titled mine Cigar Crush.
Whoa.
I don't know this man personally. He is definitely in my circles of Chicago and New York friends. He's a Leatherman. He's smoking a big old cigar. And I have so many things that I want to do to him.
Well, all right. So here's the deal. He's got a ton of pins. So running through them, Fred Anderson appears to be his name, but he is International Mr. Olympus Leather 20. He is Mama's Cigar Aficionado. So if you're familiar with Mama's family, Miss Sandy, Mama Sandy. So, and then Gulf Coast Community Boot Black 2006, I believe. Is this fine gentleman who's got like a ridiculously huge cigar he's smoking. And I say ridiculously huge because it's bigger than some men's penises. So, I mean, seriously. But it's hot.
It's like, I'm pretty sure my Maker's Mark cigar is about that length, yeah.
I was like, Courtney and Jade got comments. It's okay. We're good.
No, I actually posted in the chat to you all my daddy look, I think, and that cigar is huge.
Yeah, I did. I did see those. Would you mind if we post those onto our site? Okay, I will be posting.
It definitely
those.
fits exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to see more smut of me, just Facebook me. I'm sure we can.
Well,
find
this is
something.
why you need a Tumblr.
Honey, I'm working on it.
Porn, not for networking. What are you doing?
Bullshit. You network through the porn.
Look, you just have 2 Tumblr accounts, just like Mr. Gary here.
I can barely keep up with Facebook.
Well,
That's okay,
yeah,
it's
there's that. It is a challenge to try to, manage all the different aspects and pieces in that case.
I'm old fashioned. Just send me nudes. Like, be nude and walk in my general direction. Send me nude.
Or if anybody's familiar with FetLife, that's where all my smut is.
Yeah.
Mama Baker with 2 R's.
Tammy is like fleecing me right now. She's like, I know.
Where they at? Take them out.
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna let you two work that out while we move on to the next link. Happens to be mine. So, not knowing what was going to be acceptable in advance, I went more neutral as opposed to like outright pervy. But this happens to be. This is JCRT. So, for those that are not familiar, Robert and Jeffrey are becoming bear celebrities, so to speak. They work in the fashion world. They started a company in which they make flannels. So this kind of ties into what Jade and Courtney had with the Klondykes with the theme. When they kind of started up, they said, we launched this concept as a capsule of plaid shirts and a dream to create a brand of incredibly well-made, impeccably tailored plaid shirts. Since then, they've gone on and they've continued to do that. They sell suspenders. They've introduced some new kind of concepts. They created a whole series of plaid prints based off of 80s movies. So they take like an 80s movies poster and pull out the main colors and then turn it into a plaid print.
Wow, that's really neat.
It's friggin' awesome, and I follow them on Tumblr and stuff. But these 2 gentlemen are in this picture, and it says honored to be included in the Out 100. So thank you, Out Magazine. And then they list people, and they have their new baby they added to the family, which is Maud the Bulldog, who has a plaid bandana on next to her 2 daddies in their plaid. But I learned of these guys a couple of years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago. They've always been there and they've always kind of been around, but I think they did a fashion show in which they solely focused on plaid, and that I think was the beginning of this genesis. And so they have this successful company, and yeah, they're completely right in the wheelhouse of what people think of in terms of bears, with men with bellies and beards and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's very much in the Paul Bunyan lumberjack kind of area. So that's the one that I picked for that.
I think it's brilliant. The fact that you could take something and then the movie posters, like how to saturate that color.
You just hit on her. She's a movie buff.
Big movie buff. I would actually love to see maybe like their take on like a film noir. Like I want to see some gray tone flannels. Like I want you to get sassy with it. But yeah, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, they've got some amazing stuff that they've rolled out. Like they've got this crazy one, the alien plaid. So it's the green, black, gray, white, like kind of that kind of yellow, like fuchsia kind of color. But yeah, it's crazy. They've got Blade Runner, Time Bandits, Full Metal Jacket, My Own Private Idaho, Lost Boys. The Thing. Yeah, based on the posters. So basically, they take out the main colors that were used and turn them into like there's a BioShock plaid. They're having a lot of fun. Oh, and now they do pants.
No, you did not buy plaid.
There's pajama pants. God,
no, you didn't, lesbian. No.
Ooh, they got one called the Orson Welles. Okay, I gotta stop looking at the site.
You're getting
so anyways, and then I believe, Courtney, we put one together for you because we want you to be left out based on our pre-show conversation. We have Friend of Dorothy, which happens to be a recurring guest who has visited us, Mr. Ray as Sir's Southern Comfort on Tumblr.com. He recently posted this one. He took a road trip, and so it says, ready to experience Washington, D.C. I'll be at the Eagle bootblacking tonight and tomorrow, but always down to hang with folks. Now, the caption sounds beautifully eloquent and innocent. However, the picture is of Mr. Ray on all fours in his birthday suit on a bed.
See, I didn't get to see this without censorship. The one I saw had a giant peach over the main parts. So.
See?
How do you feel about the uncensored version?
I mean, I've seen it before in person, but yes, I'm down. What?
Did you touch the butt?
I touched the butt. I touched the butt. I touch the butt every chance I get. He has got a nice butt.
Yeah.
Ray, if you're watching this, you have a lovely ass. Oh my god.
Or listening, audio podcasting.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So that's your tumble pick for this week, Courtney, that we based on what you had said, which, to be fair, is pretty much the smuttiest of the bunch. So congratulations.
I'm sure you're very proud. Anyway,
you leave that poor bear alone.
No.
Not every bear in a wheelchair is crippled. Sometimes a mama bear gets a hold of them.
Jeez. Moving on
into our links, which are not necessarily Tumblr picks. So I was just talking about the 24-hour extra live stream that my co-raid leader Jocelyn Moffat was doing. I'm linking to her Extra Life page. Extra Life is a charity organization dealing with the gamers, basically raising funds for Children's Miracle Network. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of different teams create goals and basically do 24-hour live streams of them playing games. And this is a link to their page. So that you can actually go in and donate as well. And obviously there's other teams there. If for some strange reason you can't donate to them, you can donate to somebody else. In the end, it goes to all of the funds go into the Children's Miracle Network. Anyways, Chester, why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because our live feed, due to technology, is a few moments behind us. Yes. So the people watching at home, they're about 10 to 15 seconds in lag. Miss Tammy just realized that the person we were talking about was Ray. And that
yes, it is. God damn it. He did a boot scene with me that just
we so when we get to the end of the show, there's kind of a running joke that Miss Tammy kind of taps out or checks out. And I was like, no, not yet, because I knew like what the first at least two picks were going to be. I had not thought ahead about her seeing Ray in his birthday suit. So then now, thanks to the delay technology.
Sorry, Miss Tammy. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. And now she's like, OMG, that's Ray. It's in all caps. And she's like, I'm not sure if she's scarred or not. But
if anything, Miss Tammy, let us know if you agree with us that he at least has a nice butt.
I'm pretty sure Miss Tammy has seen Ray in his birthday suit. It's a wild guess.
I don't know.
She is a bit of a mama bear.
No, I doubt that.
I don't think she has, actually.
I'm pretty sure.
Miss Tammy, if you're watching, correct us whether we're wrong or not.
Now.
We'll find out in about 30 seconds to a minute, I'm sure. In any case.
Nice.
So, my link is to a Tumblr page, ATX Ginger Bear. I don't know his name. He's in my circles of friends, but I don't know him personally. Just, like through mutual friends, I see him cross-post or whatever. This man is gorgeous.
Yep.
Did you see? Did you see?
His shaved head, big fiery beard, and it's well kept.
Does it match the drapes?
Well, you can tell
if you
scroll down.
If you scroll through the Tumblr, you can see for yourself.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
She will also following the link to the children's donation.
He's just gorgeous. Oh my God, makes my
damn.
heart
All right, for the record, we are corrupting Miss Tammy. Just
we love you, Miss Tammy.
She caught up, and now her comment now is Mother of God. So, I'm sorry, Miss Tammy.
Well, Miss Tammy does like gingers, as far as I know, because I
love gingers. Give me a ginger and a kilt, and I'm a woman.
I made a comment yesterday when I got into Louisville because I opened up my growler and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys have a lot of fucking gingers in this area. There was probably 10 that I counted on my screen, and that's just unheard of.
We're hoarding them. It's fine.
Fair. Oh God.
They cast a spell or something, and that's how that works. They draw them all to the area. I'm not sure.
The got broken again.
We stood Raymond out in the middle of a field, and then Ginger.
Raymond. Oh,
okay, we're gonna clarify here about Miss Tammy seeing Raymond's ass.
Ooh.
Here we go. This is her clarification. I cannot confirm nor deny. Girl. I've been around a long time.
Yeah, I think her phrasing of "I've been around a long time" is to say she's seen a lot of things. So,
yes.
Yeah. So to go in a different direction, other than making everybody wet or moist or whatever your preference is, there's a new podcast that's come on the scene and the community, so to speak, that I've become aware of, that I binge downloaded and listened. I'm almost completely caught up to all 9 episodes, which I started literally on Friday. It's called Unbearable with Big Dipper and Meatball. For those of you that are not aware, Big Dipper is a entertaining artist who is part of the bear community. He has primarily been known for doing rap and kind of like fun shtick kind of stuff. He is acquainted well with entertainment. He moved to LA last year, I believe it was. He's in the latest Bob the Drag Queen / Alaska Thunderfuck music video. And I actually am now kind of addicted to listening to his podcast because it's so insightful to learn more about his personality and his background. And then Meatball is actually a drag queen from there in LA who was considered and then titled fan favorite from the Boulet Brothers drag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just watched that.
So, the podcast is interesting and fun. They have the advantage that they're in LA, so they get to have people on. They had George Unda, who is part of the cast for Where the Bears Are. They had Drew Droege, who is also known in the YouTube circles as Chloe Sevigny. This parody type stuff that Drew has done. They've had some interesting folks on already, and I'm giving them a plug because it's fun. It's good to listen to. Their shows are averaging under an hour. So I like what they're trying to do because specifically Big Dipper is talking about the concepts of the bear community and how like we built this on the concept of inclusion, yet now we are struggling with that, like where people are allowed to be or not allowed to be and all that kind of stuff. So the link is actually to iTunes for Apple, but obviously anywhere that you can get a podcast, pretty much as long as you plug in that title. Unbearable with Big Dipper and Meatball, you'll probably be able to find it.
And to connect this, it is a Reverie Studios production, which means that it's also in basically the same podcast network as Butch and the Bear.
And Skeleton Crew, who's just recently on our show.
They're like video-wise, but so a lot of Reverie stuff coming up here on Cubs Out Loud. And Courtney, where would you like to point people?
Where would I like to what?
Wait, maybe I said that wrong.
Where would I like to poke people? Is that what I heard?
Point people.
Point. Oh, point.
And then a link.
Where would you like to send them? Like, where would you like them to go online?
Let me pull up. It is Klondykes of the Ohio Valley on Facebook.
Okay.
It is a closed group, but if you ask to join, I'll add you. Just as long as you don't look like a robot, kind of deal.
And even then, no discrimination.
And it's just like I said, the only thing we have right now is our Facebook page. It's going to take a second for me to pull it up, but you can follow that link and it should take you to where you need to go. If you want to follow us for like the next event or kind of what we're doing in the future. Or hell, if you just want to see pictures of women. We post a lot of smutty pictures of women.
Bearish women, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Well, and then, of course, we'd also, if any of our lady bear huntresses want to send pics, like, again, they go through me first, and then I will put them
They do
on.
not. They do not.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Just CC me on the email.
So I have a quick question before we sign off. Will the Klondykes be making a presence possibly at NAB in February?
Duh. We have So like I said, our glitter bear is running for North American Bear. So I know she and I at least will be there.
Mm-hmm.
I am scheduled to be there.
Yeah, so we'll be there. The previous Derby City Goldilocks is usually there. As you know, Tammy is there. We're going to try and get a call out to like invade North American Bear this year with women.
And then our title holders, the ladies, one is tied down due to her performance as the huntress. But the other two, they're traveling from Ohio. If they can certainly make it, I know that they want to be there.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to support James and his endeavors.
First class, you gotta.
Hey, guess what, folks?
All right.
Woohoo!
Guess what, folks? That's the end.
Oh.
Bye. Thank you again.
Oh, wait, we're not there yet.
Oh, well.
That's the end of everything else. But first, you can find plenty of places to contact us. Pop over to our website, cubsoutloud.com. Shoot us an email at cubsoutloud@gmail.com. Leave us a sexy voicemail or otherwise at 361-COL-TALK. That's 361-265-8255. You can follow us on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube, of course, with Cubs Out Loud in the appropriate place, the URL. Please join the official bear website of Cubs Out Loud, bearunderground.net. There's an interest category in there for Cubs Out Loud if you want to join us there. You can rate us on iTunes, subscribe to us on Google Play Podcast, give us a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio. You can find me anywhere on the internet as Boxtet, Box Puppy, Box Cub, Box something or other.
You can find me on Tumblr or Twitter under the name The Pup Up There. Next weekend, I'll be at Tri-State Contest, and I'll be flagging black or light blue. Plus, I'll be doing photography for the event. Or various bear dating sites across the net under the name Pup Shutter or Cupcake76.
And if you want to reach out to me online, you can pretty much find me anywhere as GareBear73. That's GARBEAR73. I also do want to give a quick shout out and say thank you to individuals recently who have been saying, "Hey, I love listening to the show," or you guys are pretty awesome, and it was great to see or run into you in that case. Yet again, Chester, if I recall correctly, last night you met somebody who you figured out recognized me by my voice. At another event.
That would have been James, the 2017 Klondykes Glitter Bear.
Yeah.
You got this.
I didn't know that at first. He came up to me while we were at the bar, and he's like, "Oh, actually, no, I take that back." Aaron Hudd walked him over to me, and he's like, "Aaron, this is James. He listens to the podcast." And James was like, "Yeah, I met Gary a week or two ago," or whatever he said it was. "I'm the gentleman who heard his voice in a crowd and recognized his voice from the podcast." And then he's like, "Great, now I know 3 out of the 4. So he's kind of like where I was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Still missing
me.
me.
I also want to thank real quick Dan from Knoxville, Tennessee, because I found it. He messaged me on an app. I'm not going to buzz market them. And he said, It was good to see people that are checking out NAB. Happy to see that you'll be there. I don't want to keep you, but I recognized your face from the COL banner and wanted to say that I enjoy your show. So I said, thanks. We're trying to keep productive with it. And feel free to say Chester, myself, Damon, any of us that are going to be at NAB.
We will be at NAB.
And Courtney, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook under Courtney Chesser. That link is posted in the chat. You can find me at Klondykes of the Ohio Valley at gmail.com as the group email. You can find me on FetLife as Mama Bear Gur.
Can you spell that for me?
Capital M, lowercase A-M-A, capital B, lowercase E-A-R-G-R-R. And FetLife is F-E-T-L-I-F-E. If you're into kinkier stuff.
We have a few of those. Anywhere else that they can find you?
No, I'm pretty old school. I don't get very far. Eventually I'll have a Tumblr. Eventually.
Yeah.
I think we converted you tonight. I mean, based on
No, I've been trying to for a while. I'm never home to make things like that. And if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. Damn it.
Just for any of the listeners who do not ever go to the website and actually read what we have posted, Klondykes is Klondykes.
Which should also be in the title of the show.
Yes.
So if you're listening to the podcast, you'll see the name. Anyways, with that, say good night, everybody!
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good one, y'all.
Later.
Yay!
What?
Yay!
Woo-hoo!
All right, I'm going to stop.